Flames Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Sea of Red Football Podcast. I hope you've caught up and gotten your sleep schedule figured out, because I wasn't sure how the last few days were going to go after staying up until 2 a.m. But I am with someone who made it through the whole game. He was there live. He is awake, and he is the man who is all things a Sea of Red. John Manson, how we doing this Tuesday night?
We doing good tonight. How you doing, Richie? You wore a tie to the show tonight.
Well, some people say you wear black to a funeral, but that's not for tonight. I'm coming from a work event. I wasn't sure what time I was going to get home. I may make an outfit change some point, but we'll see. But no, I'm dressed up. I'm feeling good, but not as good as I think we felt Sunday morning at around 1:30 a.m.
Yeah, it was quite the game, right? I mean, playing East Carolina, we talked about it really all season, even in the off season, about how difficult this game was going to be. But Liberty's able to pull out the win, 35-24, 4-hour, 37-minute weather delay to be exact. And that was quite the interesting time there in the stadium, and I'm sure it was for those watching at home. And I'd love to hear, Richie, during that 4.5 hours, what were you doing?
So I was at a buddy's house. We all got together for his wife's birthday. We've just been watching college football all game and was excited. I got one of the outdoor TVs, committed to the Liberty game. Game started, and just like that, everyone's like, what happened? Lightning delay. My friends are like, didn't you deal with that the first? Yeah, it happened week 1. Happened week 4 and week 4, and it worked out. Hung out until the game restarted. I watched the first half and then I headed back home. But I think no matter where you were at, whether you were live, whether you were watching from home or somewhere else, it was one of those games, and it was one of those nights that we will talk about as Flames fans forever. It's just one of those generational, between all the antics of what was going on during the delay and Instagram and everyone on social media, Twitter, the group chats were lively. They were popping. And then when the game started, kind of wish we were back on that delay.
Yeah, definitely got to that point. We immediately fell behind, 17-0, fumbled it on our own one.
Yeah.
They scored a touchdown when they first got the ball back, and you're sitting here thinking, oh, and then Caden throws that interception down 17-0. Caden throws the interception. You have the unsportsmanlike penalty, and they're first and goal at the 7 or whatever it was midway through the second quarter. And you're thinking, wow, this thing got out of hand real quick, and we're in jeopardy of not just losing, but getting embarrassed here in the early hour morning of Sunday. And, it was like, man, why did we even start this game? We should have said, let's call it a night and going in. But, much to this team's credit, we talked about it after New Mexico State. We talked about it, all the time. They keep striking. That's what they always talk about, strike the stone. They kept doing that. They just kept, going after it. The defense got the stop, forced the field goal, which I said after that interception, I was like, if you can hold them to a field goal, that's a win. Because, it's still a 3-possession game. You're still down 20.
Getting the ball at half.
Yeah, you got the ball there 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever it was left in the second quarter. You get the ball out of halftime. You can string together 2 scores, and you're right back in it. Well, when they missed the field goal, you can see that jolt of energy spread throughout the team. And from that point forward, the offense and the defense both played, tremendous. I mean, the offense went 5 straight drives to close the game, scoring touchdowns. And they were finally clicking at the, kind of like how they did last year. Like, we hadn't felt that way about the offense in a long time. And Richie, I don't know how you feel, but it feels like this game could be a launching point for this team this season to kind of kick it into that next gear, kick it into a higher level, and play at that high level, throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, you just look at what's on the screen, and if you are watching live, if you're checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, thank you so much. If you are listening, we have the score, we have the stats on the screen. Caden Salter, 4 touchdowns, Reese Smith, I dubbed him Mr. Midnight. 3 touchdowns. It was that opportunity. I think we saw players that we weren't sure how they were going to do this year stepped up. Obviously, we know Caden's Caden. Caden's going to ball out when push comes to shove, but we were kind of waiting for Reese Smith to have that moment and to establish, all right, who's going to be the guy that gets the ball in these situations. And to answer your question, yes, I do think it is absolutely a jumping off point. Just kind of look at the way the season has gone so far. That little bit of, hey, doesn't matter what the score is. We know we can score. We know we can stop them. We can turn the ball over when we have to and take care of business. Genuinely, I'll be the first to admit, I was in some group chats like, curtains. It's over. Prove me wrong. I was thrilled to be proved wrong, but the way that this team kind of fought back and battled, and stop me if I'm wrong, John, we haven't had a situation like that down 2 or 3 scores other than the Fiesta Bowl. We really had to come back.
Well, I mean, the New Mexico State game to one degree, but, it felt like that New Mexico State game felt like, okay, we're always going to figure it out. We're going to figure out. We're going to figure out until finally.
There's never a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Until finally there wasn't a doubt. I did begin to have a little bit of a doubt when we got into the fourth quarter, and it was still a 2-possession game.
I also slept through all of that.
Yeah.
So to me, that never happened. I woke up and we were scoring touchdowns. I'm like, fan the flames. This is what I expect.
Well, for those of us that were there 1:00 in the morning, East Coast time, it was it was definitely some doubt. But then we got that fumble, scoop and score, and kind of rolled from there. But we can't say enough about Reese Smith. I've got an article coming out, a feature story on him, and just kind of how he's endured over the last 15 months or whatever it's been. He
injured last year. Yep.
Yeah, tore his ACL, tore his meniscus. Missed all of last season, his first year at Liberty, and he had to, fight back through that. And then this summer tore the same meniscus again. And, actually, when I heard about that back in training camp, I thought he might be middle part to late in the season before he even got a chance to start working his way back. But he was ready to go by week 1 and is slowly taking a step forward each and every week. And, I thought last year he was a guy that could lead the team in receiving. That was obviously before he got hurt and before CJ Daniels broke out. But to have him back this year, operating at a high level, we couldn't ask for more. I mean, it's great. We got him now. You got Trayon Sibley. Elijah Canyon's been coming on, got his first touchdown the other day, and I think we're going to be okay at receiver.
I agree. I think, as you mentioned, the perfect jumping off point at the perfect time in the season, going into what we have all said is the game. I can say the game of the year, the game that we've looked at, the game that everyone has been talking about, not just us here in the Liberty bubble, but nationally, those who follow the Group of Five, as the marquee matchup coming in against App State. But more about App State later. Conference USA had some games across the nation. Some not great, some good. Never good to lose to Monmouth. It's never good to lose to Monmouth. We've lost to Monmouth before. I was at the game.
We've done it before. That's not a good loss when you're an FCS team.
It's not good.
FBS team.
Lost in overtime. I was at the game. I do live in New Jersey. Monmouth is in New Jersey. I saw that. I'm like, if I lost to Monmouth, I have a buddy that graduated. He got his master's from Monmouth, and he's just been texting me like, we're like the third. He's saying they're the third best team in Conference USA. It's not great.
Yeah, no, that's not good. Certainly not a good performance for FIU. And FIU, they had a really good performance a couple weeks ago against a MAC school. Kind of rolled all over them, scored 50+ points, but since then they've been very disappointing. Had a bad loss at FAU, and then obviously losing that to Monmouth. But Sam Houston continues to look good. They took care of business against New Mexico State, 31-11.
Yep. We said they would.
Yep.
No one listened to us.
Yeah, that's true. And then Western Kentucky with a really nice win, maybe the best non-conference wins so far in Conference USA play for a Conference
comeback
USA team
too
so far. Yeah, came from behind and beat Toledo, who was
14.
Unbeaten.
Yeah, 14 under. Toledo coming off the big win against Mississippi State, and then Western Kentucky scored 14 unanswered in the fourth. So, the comeback kids. We're the cardiac kids, so they can be the comeback kids.
There you go. But it's really looking like those three teams, Liberty, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston, are the top three in the league as we kind of turn into October here soon and get into the meat of conference play. I do think Jack State is a team to keep an eye on. They had a nice win as far as margin goes over Southern Miss. Southern Miss, I know, is down this year, but after what we saw from Jack State their first couple of weeks, especially against Coastal in the opener, for them to get a nice, comfortable win over a Sun Belt team, it's showing that they have some improvement. They made a change there at quarterback.
Yep.
So they're a team. They've got some talent. They got the coaching ability. So I don't think we can count them out yet. But I do think Liberty, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston are kind of the toast of the conference right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting once October hits and we get to that midweek Conference USA action to kind of see, all right, of those, maybe those teams in the second half of the conference, what's going to happen? Are they going to beat up on each other? And I still am a believer of we're going to get every team's best game. We got New Mexico State's best game. They're at the bottom of the conference right now. We're going to get Middle Tennessee's best game. We're going to get Jacksonville State's best game. And yeah, the record says what it is, but it's just a number. And I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, I don't want to get ahead. We'll talk about App State. The last half of the show tonight will be focused primarily on them. And we want to spend a lot of time talking about that game. It's obviously a huge game. But if you do, and we're fans, that's what we can do. You look ahead past that game. Liberty's got about 10 days off before their next game, before they play FIU and change that midweek schedule. And that's a good time. Get a little bit rested. Take a couple of days off. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes, and then get ready for that next stretch of conference game. But you got FIU in about 10 days after the App game. Then you got 2 weeks off before you play Kennesaw State, who's currently winless. And then after that, you get Jacksonville State. So you got a period of time here in October where the schedule turns nicely as far as you got breaks between games. We've dealt with the injury bug a little bit the first few weeks of the season. So I think we can get healthy, get rested, and get right for that stretch run, hopefully towards a Conference USA championship game there early December. But, of course, you got a big game, kind of standing between that. But that's what's on the horizon, something we got to think about as we kind of look ahead. But obviously a huge game coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, and John, last point before we keep it moving. But you mentioned the injury bug. It was great to see some guys back this week. Anything you want to mention with that? I think Cooley was back. Sure. Flores was back, correct? Yep.
Yeah. It was big to have Cooley back. Got injured the week prior against UTEP, so it was nice to have him back and rush for over 100 yards again. So
that was touch and go for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I had people texting me like he's out for like not even you. People were like, I heard he's out for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it was all over the place.
Yeah, it really was. It was concerning, especially when you saw him kind of carried off the field there on the sidelines a couple weeks back. But no, he was back and looked good, and he didn't get the start, but he carried it, I think, 19 times. But yeah, John Paul Flores, great to have him back. His first game in a Liberty uniform, probably a week or two earlier than I anticipated, but he was cleared. He also did not start, but he played over 50 snaps in the game, played primarily at right guard, with Jordan White at left guard and kept Fenimore at the center. So maybe he'll be able to start this coming week. And he's one of those guys that could be one of our best offensive linemen. So good to get both of those guys back. They look good. We did lose Brylan Green, safety and punt returner, concussion-like symptoms. He'll miss at least one game. And hopefully we'll get him back after that. But does seem like we're slowly getting, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So we're moving in the right direction as far as the injury front, it seems.
Yeah, we'll take it. Is Flores the kid from Monmouth?
No, he was at Louisville most recently.
Louisville.
Jordan Hall's a transfer from Monmouth.
From
Well, that's a
Monmouth.
good point. I'd forgotten about that. Talking about Monmouth, lots of Monmouth shout outs tonight. But Jordan Hall's another guy who's played a lot, and he's coming off had total ankle reconstruction surgery. About a year ago now. So he's another guy's playing well at one of the tackle spots. So offensive line's getting showing steady improvement each and every week.
You heard it from the man who knows more than all of us. So one of my favorite things, and we've mentioned it before, is when you just start rattling off player names, because I don't know player names the way that you do. And we get the opportunity on this podcast to hear from one of those players that we talk about quite frequently. So I'm going to leave, maybe get changed, maybe eat dinner, because I haven't done that yet. We're going to get to hear from Mr. Quinton Reese and our homeboy, Mr. Jason Porter.
Hey, Flames Nation, this is Kyle Rode.
This is Rachel Roop.
This is Kato Salter.
We would just want to say thank you for supporting athletes like us through the Flames Rising Collective.
The Flames Rising Collective is a registered 501c3, providing opportunities for student athletes to use their name, image, and likeness while serving our local community.
100% of everything contributed to the collective will go directly to creating name, image, and likeness opportunities for Liberty student athletes.
Help us be champions for Christ and champions on the field. Flames.
And we are back. Jason Porter is back with us again this week, and also Quinton Reese, as you heard Richie say just ahead of that ad break for Flames Rising. Jason, starting with you, how's it going? I know you were up there in the press box till the early morning hours of a Sunday. How'd it feel to get through that one?
Yeah, just when I was feeling sorry for myself, I find out that Quinton and most of the players got back about 4 a.m. So I'm not about to complain about 2:30, but man, what a marathon and just a huge ball game.
Yeah, it definitely was quite the marathon. But I was also fortunate. I was thinking about that when I was leaving. I saw East Carolina loading their buses up and starting their trek back to Greenville, North Carolina. I was like, I sure am glad we're at home. I've only got a 15-minute drive home where they got 5-6 hours. So I'm sure they didn't get home till the sun came up. But Quinton, glad to have you back with us again tonight and this week. And take us back to the game this past Saturday night against East Carolina, especially in that 4.5, almost 5 hours in the locker room where you guys are. I guess tell us what you guys were doing. I mean, what was it like during that time, and how frequently were you checking to see, are we going back anytime soon? Were you starting to think maybe the game's getting canceled? Take us back into to what it was like in the locker room.
Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show again. I'm glad to be back on. But it was really weird. It was very different. We got in the locker room. We kind of thought, okay, it'll just be 30 minutes. It'll go by. And every kind of 15 minutes, another lightning strike would happen. And every lightning strike, that means 30 minutes would be added to the time. So once that kept happening, we started playing music in the locker room after about an hour. We tried to stay locked in within the first hour, but after an hour, it was kind of hard. So we kind of had to relax and just take our pads off, take our shoes off, and just kind of unwind. Some guys were playing ping pong, chess in the lounge. Me, myself, I went and took a little 45-minute quick nap just to get some rest before the game, because I kind of knew if we did have to play, it would be very late. And we kind of just hung out and gave us kind of time to bond and just be together, which was really cool before the game.
John, I think I would put our fans up against any fans in college football, number one. But number two, I think we have the best educated fans in the severe weather policy in FBS football. There's no doubt. I mean, 2 home games and 2 massive delays. It's been crazy. And I was on that side of the fence, of course, in my sports medicine days. But it's always just crazy how all that pans out. Q, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Dexter Ricks, man. He's just absolutely playing his mind out right now. And you of course get to see him every day, day in and day out. And I know you guys are tight. Have you been surprised by his play at all, or is this something that you saw during practice?
I'm not really surprised. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say due time, but he's been just working his tail off and working year after year just to get on the field. And finally, when he's on the field, he was ready. And it comes from how he practices, and just our success as a team, I feel like, comes on how we practice. And Dex is a great example of just coming every day to practice, ready to work. No matter how he practices one day, the next day he's trying to get better and better. And it just rubs off on the whole defense and makes everyone better.
Quinton, we were talking just a few minutes ago, Richie and myself, about, kind of the turnovers the offense had. They fumbled on their own one, and one play later, East Carolina scores. And then the interception Caden had his first one of the year. They're mid to late second quarter with you guys down 17-0. What's it like as a defensive player? Because normally, you're over there, you're waiting, you get punt alert, and then it's like, okay, I'm ready to go after this media timeout. And you got a few minutes to prepare yourself. What's it like when you're over there and then all of a sudden you hear there's a turnover and you got to quickly find your helmet and run out on the field? What's it like for you guys on the sideline during those quick turnovers?
Our team, I would say, is very good at responding to those quick, sudden changes, I'll say. And it comes from practice as well, too. Just in practice, Coach Chadwell will throw in sudden change periods. So that wouldn't be our first time having a fourth and goal, or we're on the 10-yard line and they're about to score. We just practice that all the time. So when we have it in the game, it's just nothing new, and it gives us a great advantage just to be able to practice like that every single day.
Q, all 4 of these games, it seems like the defense has really come to play and stepped up, and you guys have really showed up in critical times, kind of the bend not break mentality, I guess. But as you look at App State, the thing that jumps off the page to me is 307 passing yards on average for those guys. In your position, how big do your eyes get, and how excited do you guys get as a secondary knowing these guys throw the ball all over the yard?
It's a great opportunity because also they're a very well-balanced team. And I feel like it's going to be just a great challenge because this is probably the best team we've seen to this point, the most complete team we've seen to this point. And this is going to be a fun atmosphere to play in, a fun game to play in. And I'm really excited and can't wait to see how we do and how we perform.
Quinton, RT Rogers Oil Company is a big supporter of the Flames, big supporter of ASOR Podcast, and they sponsor this segment. If you don't mind, Q, just tell us a little bit more about RT Rogers and what they do.
For sure. I would love to. For over 50 years, our family-owned and operated oil company has been powering homes, farms, and businesses in our community. Whether you need residential or commercial propane and heating oil, generators, or expert service, we've got you covered. We also offer top-quality commercial and agriculture fuels, tanks, lubricants, and equipment, plus wholesale opportunities that help your business grow. Trust the experience and dedication that only a family business can deliver. Call us today and experience the difference.
Awesome. Thank you. I've gotten the privilege to meet some of the Rogers family, world-class people and world-class company as well. So be sure to check them out. I wanted to touch back on something JP just mentioned with you, Q, is, talking about the secondary and this big matchup you got, big challenge you got against App this weekend. Brylan Green's going to be out. Coach Chadwell said this morning, how big of a loss is that? Obviously, he's a leader in the room, in the secondary, and on the team, really. But who are some other guys we should be familiar with that might help step into, not necessarily filling his shoes, but kind of help pick up the slack with him out of the game?
It will definitely hurt not having BG, but I do feel like the guys we have that are behind him are going to be well prepared. I say guys like Eldrick Griffin and Jamin Ford just are going to help pick up that slack. Even our young guy like Devin Henderson, who hasn't seen a lot of snaps but is ready to play. This is going to be just a good chance for everyone to kind of pitch in and just make it a team effort as the back end goes. And just we're going to need the corners as much as we need the safeties, and we're just going to need everybody to make sure we're just all on the same page.
Q, obviously a big-time environment going down to Boone this weekend. I was there 10 years ago with Jacob Hagan making the pick in the end zone. Man, I still remember that. That was a career highlight. It was a lot of fun to be part of that. But going down to one of the best college football environments really in the country, so says ESPN. So you as a leader, we've talked about your leadership skills and how that transfers to maybe some of the younger guys. But anything different necessarily as you guys are talking, just sort of preparing for a ball game like this going into a big atmosphere?
Just getting used to the loudness that's going to be in the stadium. Like, we're kind of just making sure we practice with kind of stadium noise in the background, making sure we're able to communicate and just make sure all the fine things, the little things and details are kind of tightened up and ready to play. Because when you go into a hostile environment, it's very easy to get distracted and focus on the fans and maybe the surrounding atmosphere, when the only thing that matters really is us and how we're playing and how we're going to execute. So just making sure that remains the main focus throughout the whole week and doing it daily.
Definitely. Well, Q, appreciate your time as always. One more question for we'll let you get out of here. But I want to touch on that crowd. Like, if I recall correctly, last year we didn't have a ton of huge crowds on the road that we face. Obviously, the Fiesta Bowl is a little different because you're in an NFL arena, and it's a neutral site, so it's not the same. So this might be the biggest crowd we've faced, as a team. Liberty has faced in a couple of years, certainly under Coach Chadwell, I believe. But looking at their quarterback, Joey Aguilar, a lot of accolades for him coming into this season. What type of skills and strengths have you seen on tape out of him early in the study this week, and what type of challenge will he present for you guys in this defense?
I feel like he's a pretty good decision maker, and that's another thing you have to just take into account. He'll throw his check downs, and he just makes sure he takes care of the football. So that'll be a main focus going into the game, just trying to get the ball off him and just make sure we put him under pressure instead of just letting him sit back there and be comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I think the defensive line, you probably would agree, has done a great job this season so far. TJ Bush, CJ Bazile, some of those other guys getting into the backfield, forcing their quarterbacks out of the pocket to make plays quicker than maybe they want to. I know you guys on the back end appreciate the guys up front. But hey, Q, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll let you get some rest and get ready for Saturday. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Have a great night.
Stu.
Awesome. Always awesome talking with Quinton Reese. We'll miss him next year dearly, but we'll take advantage of him while we got him the rest of this season. JP, appreciate you as always, my guy. Looking forward to seeing you down in Boone once again this weekend. But before I let you go, tell me a little bit about HOAs. You hear a lot of people talk about them. What's the positives, negatives, things we should know if we're looking at purchasing a property that maybe has an HOA tied to it?
Yeah, I could obviously take the entire broadcast to do pros, cons, and stories and otherwise. But HOA, Homeowners Association, if you're buying maybe a townhouse or something like that, HOAs are a very common part of that purchase process. So as a buyer, you want to make sure that you know what the HOA covenants are. In other words, the rules of being a homeowner in that property. The good news is, and this is kind of what I wanted to focus on. Obviously, I can unpack this sidebar with anybody who wants to talk about it, but during the purchase process, you have a chance to review the HOA documents, and you have a chance to read through the entire thing, so you know literally as a buyer exactly what you're getting into. So if there's something peculiar about it or whatever else, it's also, and this is key, it's also your way out of the purchase agreement. If for some reason you just think this is more than I bargained for, or I don't agree with something or whatever else, it is a way to step out of the purchase agreement. But for the most part, HOAs are intended to kind of keep the value of the neighborhood up, the standards and those kind of things. You hear some horror stories, but for the most part, HOAs are there to benefit the homeowners.
Yeah, I know HOAs can be maybe a little intimidating to potential buyers, but having a guy like JP in your corner can certainly help navigate you through that. So if you've got any real estate needs, be sure to reach out to him. Jason Porter, realestate@gmail.com, and the rest of his contact information is on the screen as well. Jason, appreciate you as always, and we'll see you Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thanks, John. See you in Boone. Go Flames.
Virginia's best and most Flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad Roasting serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, where you can enjoy their craft roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it will be directly shipped to your doorstep. Whenever you find yourself in the capital of the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at one of their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and season ticket holders, and now they're pleased to sponsor the podcast from CRA. Hop over to www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get your Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.
And we're back. Shout out Quinton Reese. He's awesome. He's going to be a coach one day, right?
Dude,
I feel like he's got to be.
Yeah, he's a bright young man and a veteran experience, brings a lot of leadership to the team. He's also a really good player on the field as well, too. I'm sure he'll be successful, whatever it is he chooses to do.
Yeah, so we are back, and we are joined, for those who are watching live. Thank you. For those who are checking us out later, also thank you. Regardless of how you are watching, we just ask to subscribe if you are on YouTube. It helps us out a bunch. We appreciate it, as always. But again, we are joined by our main man, CT Christian Taylor, and we are going to talk about App State. And someone in the comments just said it's parent weekend at App State. And you know what? Side note, it was parent weekend in Virginia Tech on Saturday. What happened, John Manson? What happened at Virginia Tech?
They took an L to a Big Ten team, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one that wears the red. Is it scarlet red or
Scarlet red?
There you go. Rutgers.
No one is chopping and striking the stone more than me this fall, and we're going to keep that train rolling into Saturday when we head to Boone, North Carolina, to face off against App State. Now, App State 2-2 this season. I think when we started the season, we were kind of hopeful they would be 3-1 with a loss to Clemson. But you play the teams in front of you. App State 2-2. John, again, you're smarter than me. CT, you also smarter than me. What do we got?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing not only that they lost to Clemson, but how bad they lost to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
That game was, 42-0 in the first quarter or something. That happened when I was at New Mexico State and I was trying to follow it there. I didn't have very good Wi-Fi, so it's hard to keep up with it. But that got out of hand real quick. And then
do they have Wi-Fi in New Mexico?
The signal lasted about 6 feet from my seat in the press box. So
that checks out.
But anyways, they did, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's been a disappointing start to the season for App State. They obviously had that loss to Clemson pretty bad, and then I think most of us watched that game last Thursday night against South Alabama on ESPN, and that got out of hand quickly too. And South Alabama, coached by Major Applewhite, his first year as a head coach, he's been the offensive coordinator there. I don't think many of us expected much out of them. So for them to hang 40-plus points against them in Boone in a sold-out crowd on national TV, I think took a lot of us by surprise. But as Coach Chadwell said this morning, the team that played Thursday night is not going to be the same team that played Saturday. I kind of think at this point in time, we just throw that Thursday night performance and Thursday night loss to South Alabama out the window, and we'll have a different team Saturday. And maybe as the season goes on, we learn that App's not that good. But for now, I still think they're one of the top teams in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And you saying just throw it out the window, 100%. I think when that loss happened, there's a lot of Flames Twitter saying, "Oh my gosh, like App State is terrible" and all those kind of things. Not thinking about the fact that we've been 16-1, 17-1, whatever the number is now these past 2 years is the exception, not the rule. And so teams have bad games, especially on short weeks and everything else that happens. So that App State team that showed up against, or didn't really show up against South Alabama, is not going to be the team that we see on Saturday. Joey Aguilar, their quarterback, he's an incredible player, one of the top quarterbacks in G5 outside of our own Caden Salter. So expect big things from him as well. He hasn't used his legs that much this season. I think that's a potential thing that they start bringing in more as well. But regardless, I mean, the passing numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, and Sean Clark is a guy that's got some history with Coach Chadwell. I think Coach Chadwell's 2-1 against them. They've met previously when both was at App and Chadwell obviously at Coastal Carolina. So they got some familiarity with one another, and he's a guy who's coaching at his alma mater. Things maybe haven't gone quite to the level they were hoping, certainly this year, and I think he's in his 6th season. And, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out for them. I know some of their fans are unhappy with those 2 losses, and understandably so. I mean, they team that returns their head coach, both their coordinators and their quarterback. We've mentioned Aguilar as one of the top quarterbacks in the G5. They were expected to compete for the Sun Belt championship, and now it's a big question mark as to just how good is this team, and regardless, they're going to have Liberty's name circled, and maybe that's what happened last Thursday night. Maybe they were circling the game and looking past South Alabama to their big game this Saturday against Liberty.
I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. I've had many people text me. People have been commenting. I came home. I had to do a presentation for work. I couldn't find my wired headphones. I had to use these headphones. It turns out every time I take a sip of my raspberry lemonade, it makes a lot of noise. So I apologize. Lead from the front. I'm getting out. I apologize. I will mute every time I take a sip. other thing, John, you mentioned fans aren't happy. I've learned there are no college football fans that are happy with their team this season. Sans maybe Texas. Outside of Texas, nobody is happy with their college football team.
No, you're definitely right. That's something that's been the case. And even for Liberty, I mean, we've seen some, we had we've talked about it before. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, talking about coaches need to be fired and should be left in New Mexico and all this sort of stuff. I mean, fans are they're fanatics, they're fanatical, and sometimes they're just downright insane.
Sometimes they run on the field during a 4.5 hour rain delay.
Sometimes they do and get taken out by LUPD. And we didn't spend enough time talking about that melee, but it was interesting. My daughter actually was the one. We posted the video on ASOR Red social media. My daughter was actually the one that got that video, and I said, text me over the video and I'll post it out. So that's how.
What kind of example are we setting for our kids?
Yeah, I know this kid apparently is an LCA student too. So
that's a rumor I heard was LCA student. I reached out to some of the burners on Twitter. I said, which one of you just ran on the field? Because I didn't see it live. ESPN Plus just went to like a very boring, this game will resume shortly. But I saw someone ran on the field and I instantly went, trap phone, Colin Porter. Which one of you ran on the field? Like, it wasn't us.
I wonder if he actually got arrested. I mean, typically if you do that in the middle of the game,
got arrested.
He did get arrested. Okay.
I had an LUPD officer DM me Sunday morning. It was like, yeah, just a heads up, we arrested him.
Okay.
And apparently he said he broke his arm. Whole big thing.
Yeah, Kathy's mentioning that here. I think he broke his arm and tackle. Heard that too. One of the LUPD officers kind of slipped when he transitioned from the turf to the concrete over there behind the thing. But anyways, enough about that. Let's get back to App State. Jackson here brings up a really good point about getting off to a better start early. And, it's funny. I was looking at that today. Both Liberty and App State have struggled early in games. App State, obviously, against Clemson, fell behind 40 or whatever to nothing in the first quarter. They fell behind 16-0 to East Carolina. We also fell behind 17-0 to them. And then obviously they also fell behind to South Alabama. I think it was 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. So maybe whoever wins the first quarter is the team that wins this game, which for Liberty through the first 4 games, maybe not Campbell, but the first 3 FBS games, that would not be what we would want. CT, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that point. And what I think is promising for us in terms of getting off to a fast start is the difference in defenses. So our defense, I would say, has looked pretty solid and consistent for the most part. I mean, there's been a couple hiccups, but that's some of the times there's been hiccups is when the offense has been 3 and out and defense doesn't have much time to rest. So our defense has been pretty solid, whereas App State, their defense is what has really struggled this season. I mean, their offense has been rolling all right, but their defense has been terrible. I heard a stat from last week when they were playing South Bama. They missed 28 tackles in that game. Normally in a game, you're missing, if you're doing good, you're missing maybe 6-8 tackles somewhere in there. So 28 in one game is absolutely unheard of. That's a 3-4 week mark. So that's tough as well to fix in 1 week. That comes down to coaching a lot, and that normally is a multi-week fix. So with that being the case, I really like our chances to be the offense that comes out early and succeeds. The other thing that I think is interesting, and we can talk about this as well, is there's potential weather impacts. If you look at the weather forecast for Boone right now, it does say sunny on Saturday, but everywhere around it is rain. And there's a potential hurricane and all kinds of things. If weather does impact this game, the team take advantage of that because we have the rushing attack to be able to not, if there's wind, if there's rain, that's severely going to impact passing, which I think is a massive detriment to App State as opposed to us.
Yeah, no, I agree. And South Alabama had a lot of success passing, but also running the ball against that App State defense. Kind of to your point, CT, and I agree. Liberty was able to have a nice night the other night against East Carolina, a team that hadn't allowed 100 yards rushing all season. I think they only had done it a couple of times all of last year, and Liberty got to 190. Quinton Cooley went over 100 himself. So hopefully we'll have that option attack. And if you got your run game, just like it happened Saturday, and Coach Chadwell talked about it after the game, if you got your run game going, you're moving the clock, moving the ball, that clock keeps moving. You keep Aguilar in that potent offense and passing attack on the bench. And if they're on the bench, they can't be scoring. So certainly going to be a big test, but I think it's something that I'm looking forward to the test and to the challenge, and see if we can pull out another big win.
The one thing I want to look at before we jump into our players to watch is turnovers. I think we finally got that. All right, it's Joker mask season again. We were very much worried after Campbell, like, where was the Joker mask? It's coming out. We got to see it at the right time, Sunday morning. But that's my one piece, and I will probably get to it a little bit later. But that's my key to the game is turnovers. So players to watch, we have Dexter Ricks Jr., sophomore cornerback, and Jordan White, offensive lineman. John?
Yeah,
again, smarter than me.
So speaking of the turnovers, that's a great segue to this. Dexter had an interception that kind of it did seal the game late in the game Sunday morning against the Pirates. He got an interception off a deflected pass. Another guy, Christian Bodner, has really been playing well in the secondary too, and he might get more playing time, see more snaps on the field with BG out, but Brylan Green. But Dexter's a young guy that's got some playing time last year, but he's really stepped into the limelight this year. Kind of been a starter, a guy that hasn't come off the field very much. So he's going to be tested. Him and that entire defensive backfield will be tested Saturday afternoon in Boone with Aguilar and some of those receivers they got. And a lot of times the way Liberty plays defense, they leave their corners on an island and let them play man to man and try to shut down the opposing receivers. And Jordan White, I just think the offensive line with JP Flores getting back, they can really take another step and continue to get better and better. And White is really the anchor of that line. He's played a lot of left guard this year with the injury to JP Flores. He was at center last year, but Aaron Fenimore's come in and done a great job there. So looking forward to big things out of both of these guys, and White kind of anchoring that offensive line and hopefully a strong rushing attack like we were talking about just a few minutes ago.
One thing I would say, just that's one wild card for the game that we haven't necessarily talked about, is not what's on the field, but what's off the field in terms of the fans. App State is known just for a hostile environment in general. Great crowds, sellouts most game. Going back to their FCS days coming up to FBS, they've always been known for good crowds. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this is going to be the toughest road game we've had with Chadwell as coach, just in terms of overall environment. I mean, I can't think of, we haven't had a P4 game or anything else. So I would say, yeah, this is going to be for a lot of these guys who weren't here under the previous coaching staff, where we did have some P4 games, not because of the staffs or anything, but just in general, that's how the schedule was. So this is going to be the toughest test for a lot of these guys going on the road. So that's one thing that we haven't necessarily seen much of in Conference USA games or anything that could potentially play an impact. And so it'll be great to see how our players respond to that as well.
Yes, it was great to hear, CT, to your point, Quinton Reese mention about practicing with crowd noise and getting that whole thing going, getting the players familiar and ready for the environment they're going to see. Their fans are nutcases, absolute loons. Like the things I've seen on Twitter, just lunacy.
And if Longshots is saying it, then
exactly. Like I'm like, nah, I'm good. Not going to boom. Couldn't go this weekend anyway. It is what it is. But I do want to talk about Leesburg for a moment. We all love Leesburg. What's everyone's favorite fruit?
Oranges, right?
What's everyone's favorite green fruit? Green, large, sometimes gets smashed by a
Watermelons?
sledgehammer. Watermelon.
we go.
Leesburg, Florida was actually known in the 1900s as the watermelon capital of the world because they had a massive watermelon industry. News to me, definitely news to you. And if I were to have pulled some sort of outfit change, it would have been to my Leesburg, Florida shirt. If you don't know about Leesburg, you're new to this. I'm about to learn you something tonight.
It's real Florida. It's old Florida, and it's close to all of the Central Florida attractions. Crystal clear natural springs in one of the largest chain of lakes. The beautiful lakefront city of Leesburg offers the best in outdoor adventures, fishing, and quaint shops and restaurants on historic downtown Main Street. Come visit and see how welcoming a hometown city feels. Experience Leesburg the way Florida is meant to be.
The lakefront city of Leesburg. Incredible place, incredible people. And I'm joined right now with another incredible person, CT. Cash and Tickets with CT. It's that time of the podcast where we talk about not just Liberty, not just Conference USA, but we talk about all the other games that are going on in what I think is the most entertaining sport in the country. CT, I think you're up. You've been hot.
Yeah, next week we'll take a look at our records. You and I both are hot. I mean, you had Rutgers again. As we talked about earlier, you had that. I was frustrated. I had San Jose State money line, and they should have won that game.
They were there. They were there.
That was disappointing to lose, and staying up late watching that one. I wouldn't have done that if I knew it was in store the next night. But regardless, you and I feel like we both are doing well. So let's continue it this week.
Absolutely. And first game we're going to talk about, as always, Liberty App State. Those with the fancy computers think Liberty is going to win by anywhere between 3 and 4 points. That spread is 3.5, over under 62.5. It's a tough game to play.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of unknowns from both teams.
Yep. A lot of unknowns. A lot of unknowns with the weather as well, like I mentioned earlier. Like, there's so many different factors at play. That total is very interesting to me. That's the highest total we've seen this year. Very high.
And we have not been close.
No.
Did the over hit last week or no?
What was the final score? I'm trying to think. 35-24. So yes, it did.
Yeah, it did. That's the first time.
Yep. It but we saw our offense start clicking there in the second half. So that could be interesting. I think it's something if the weather isn't present, that maybe you take the over, or maybe we consider for the first time Liberty team total over. I think the offense is going to get moving. I think App State's going to help out with this. But short, sweet, simple, Liberty. Give me Liberty.
Just Liberty, and the fact spread's minus 3.5. It's close enough money line that it's probably 160, 150 money line. Minus
160, 170. Yeah.
That all right, just lay the juice, and it is what it is. So
just buy it down to -3 and you're good to go.
Yeah, I like the under just based because it's a lot of points with Liberty's good defense, but it is what it is. So Western Kentucky, Boston College, 13-point favorites, over under 55. Noon kick.
Another one that I think could be interesting. Boston College has been getting a lot of love this season, rightfully so. Western Kentucky's been a little bit under the radar.
Boston College beat a very poor Florida State team, and that got everyone 50 shades of fired up.
Yep, same thing with Georgia Tech. Like, they got a lot of love, then they lose to Syracuse. So Boston College hung in there with Missouri, but maybe Missouri's not as good as we thought they'd
Yeah.
be. They struggled with Vandy, which Vandy's a good team this year. That's a different discussion. So I kind of like our Conference USA foe, Western Kentucky, with the points. I think this is a game they could maybe even win outright. But at almost 2 touchdowns, give me Western Kentucky.
It is a lot of points. BC did not look great against Michigan State last week. Came down to the wire. I was able to actually watch all of that game. I had invested a responsible amount of money on a Boston College, Tennessee moneyline parlay. I've been a believer of Tennessee all season. Boston College, red bandana game. Come on now. But Boston College didn't look great. Western Kentucky, maybe turning the corner, coming off the win last week. I can see the game being right around 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
So, me personally, I'm going to avoid this game, but I'm going to be watching it with a vested interest as a Liberty fan.
No doubt. Last thing I'll say, I mean, I'd be curious to look back at this for past years, but I feel like it's got to be difficult for Boston College coming off the red bandana games. I mean, that's just a very emotional thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've struggled the game after. So I'm actually going to look into that after this, but that could be another reason to maybe lean Western Kentucky.
Yeah, that's why you're the GOAT, CT. So La Tech, FIU, a little Conference USA matchup to close out the 3 games we're going to talk about before we jump into our favorites. But La Tech currently 2.5-point favorites. Over under 51.5. I got my thoughts. I want to hear yours because I could change my mind.
Do yourself a favor and don't watch this game unless you're John Manson trying to educate himself on everything Conference USA for the rest of us. Honestly, for me, I don't trust Louisiana Tech whatsoever. I don't trust anything about their team. You could say, they look good for 3 quarters against NC State. Well, NC State is also terrible. So give me FIU as the home dog at Pitbull Stadium. I think that's the X factor here. So give me FIU money line here against Louisiana Tech.
CT, if you're in, I'm in. Again, this is not the game you watch. You bet it. You treat it like the stock market, except you get a return 3.5 hours later.
Exactly.
All right. We've picked a couple games that we like. We got our favorites, our upset alert, and our points. We don't bet unders on this podcast. We don't root for defense. We root for points. So our favorite CT, Baylor -3 against BYU. What do you think?
Yeah. We're going to get a little bit gross this week, honestly, and we're going to start with this one because this is horrid, to be honest. Baylor has looked not good this season. They did just replace their quarterback, DeQuan Finn. He was terrible. They've started to look a little bit better, but they still lost last week to Colorado on a Hail Mary that they shouldn't have given up whatsoever. So Baylor's looked terrible this year. Their coach could be on the hot seat. BYU last week, they just beat Kansas State. So BYU riding high. The big storyline for them is their Jewish quarterback, which I don't know how much we're going to dabble into or not, but regardless, it is a thing, and the BYU fans are embracing him. So take a look into that if you haven't seen it. But BYU riding high. Yes, BYU riding high. Baylor doing terrible. BYU is ranked now. And now Baylor's a home favorite against BYU. Makes absolutely no sense. So to me, this is screaming that Baylor is somehow going to win this game. BYU is going to fall flat after that big upset win. So give me Baylor -3.
I love that play. Tulsa's not very good. It was a miracle. Yeah, big. Not because I'm a big Baylor guy, but for this situation with that number, Baylor. I went with North Texas against Tulsa. Tulsa was the team that miracle win last week. Again, I was North Texas head coach in NCAA 25. So little stuff like that. That's the best part of gambling is just, I know this team. I like this team. I jump in. That's the difference between CT and ICT. Those are numbers. He's doing better than me this season, and I'm just all about the vibes. But upset alert, Louisiana against Wake Forest, 14. They're plus 145 underdogs against Wake Forest. Wake Forest is not a tough place to play. I got a couple guys that follow me on Twitter that are Wake Forest guys. Deeks by a million, great guys, not a tough place to play. Louisiana's been sneaky this year. The Raging Cajuns, not bad. They're not bad. They're not bad.
No, and honestly, I saw a lot of people on them against Tulane last week, and they let a lot of people down. I would not. I love this play. I think they bounce back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wake is not the same team that they were with Sam Hartman. So
No.
I absolutely like that play. I'm going gross as well and taking UNC money line. Who wants to take them after that performance against JMU, giving up 70 last week?
Yeah, but you every year, I said it in our group chat.
Yep.
Every year UNC plays a G5 team, and it's 120-point shootout. They did it against App State. It was like
for a couple
70 to 6. Yeah. So, like, it's just in UNC's DNA. It has nothing to do. It's just they have to do it legally to continue their season. They'll bounce back. It's fun.
Yep. Mac Brown has literally said, like, after one of the App State games, and he's like, I don't care about a group of 5 game. I don't prepare for this. Like, clearly. So I don't know why he was so shocked about the result against JMU. I heard he half retired in the locker room after the game.
He was like, I'll quit.
And it's just like, what did you expect after what you said you think about these teams in the past? But whatever. So, I like this bounce back spot for UNC. Duke is 4-0, but I think it's a very overrated 4-0 if you look at who they beat and how much they won by. They barely beat Northwestern. They beat Elon, a couple other teams.
New coach. Everything.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have Mike Elko anymore. So, give me UNC money line plus 115.
They might. I don't think Texas A&M, which is they had Mike Elko, but that's neither here nor there. Sure. Points. What games do we think sailing over the prediction? UK Ole Miss over 53.5. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, he's going to score 49 points himself. Jackson Dart, electric. Ole Miss, electric. I think they're going to score more than this themselves.
Absolutely. I love this. And I think Kentucky had their big home game, or just big game in general against Georgia, where they almost beat them. I don't think they have anything left in the tank here. They're trying to get Jackson Dart the Heisman, and he's got some struggles. It's going to be a race with him, Nico, Cam Ward. The Heisman race is going to be really fun this year. But I love that. Ole Miss is going to keep on running up the score. So, over 53. Absolutely love that. I'm running it back with UNLV and their overs. I got burned the other week in the Kansas game, but it was Kansas that just didn't look great. Fresno's looks really good, though. So this is a big matchup in the Mountain West to really see who could be getting into that conference title game. So over 52, love that. Think we're going to go over 60 easily. So Fresno, UNLV over 52.
I love it, too, that UNLV offense is electric. Game of the week. Could be the game of the year. It's one of those ones everyone talks about. Georgia, -2 at Alabama. I texted you when I said Georgia. I might have changed my pick. I might be back on Bama.
Tell me your thinking. I want to hear it.
I like Milroe. I love DeBoer. I think that defense is still... Georgia hasn't done anything that has crazy impressed me. And you could say the same about Alabama, but all right, Georgia beat Kentucky last week. Barely. They beat Clemson, who hasn't. They rolled a bunch of it. Just, I'm not going to bet the game. I'm going to be at a Vampire Weekend concert, but
wearing that outfit.
No. This is my Fall Out Boy outfit, as someone commented, which was actually funny. Sure. It made me laugh.
Yeah. I'll give my thoughts, and I'm still working through this game as well. It's definitely one just to more to enjoy than have anything big on this game, I would say.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be taking something on this one. You don't need to have anything crazy on it, but
enjoy it as a college football fan.
Yes. I would say here's my couple thoughts. Kalen DeBoer, good coach, great coach even. But it's still his first season there at Bama. He's still getting the pieces together. He is getting things going with Milroe. But I think Georgia still does have the defense that they can take away Milroe's legs and his deep shots. He's not a great short passer, but he's a great he has a great deep throw. I think
nuts.
Georgia can
Nuts.
Yeah. I think Georgia can take that away. I also think Kirby Smart is going to want to set the record straight against a non-Nick Saban coached Alabama team. He wants to say, we are the top dogs, no pun intended, in the SEC. I also think it's a big revenge spot from that SEC championship game last year where they lost and then got left out of the college football playoff completely. So I think they've had this one circled all year. They haven't been to Bama in years, I think since the late 2010s.
It's a tough place to play.
Yep. I also think it's telling that Bama has not been a home underdog since 2007. So, yeah, I think that's telling there. So go ahead. I think the Dogs take care of business. They get a big statement win. So Georgia -2.
I think it's cliche, but I think Georgia either wins by 21 or Alabama wins by 3.
Yep.
So there's a middle somewhere. But I will say it's not the most exciting week of college football. Said it last week, but there's opportunities for you to get out there, invest a little bit of coin here and there, and there's no better place for you if you are someone that is new to investing in sporting events than Bettors Betting. Because sometimes you feel like you're betting luck. It's like a Liberty game starting on time and not having some sort of lightning delay. But Bettors Coaching is here to change that. They specialize in transforming sports betting into smarter, more profitable experiences. With personalized coaching focused on smart bankroll management, disciplined betting, and data-driven strategies, they tailor everything to your goals. Head over to betterbetterscoaching.com and sign up for your complimentary call today. Better Bettors Coaching, with the right coaching, winning consistently is not a gamble. How about Malik?
How about him? Like, what a performance for him. I mean, he's 2-0 now as a starter for the Packers.
He won me a ton of money. Keep going. Yep.
Yeah. Got the win, and in Tennessee over his former team. That felt good for him. He might have won you some money. He also won himself some money for the rest of his career.
Yes. What Malik has done over the last 2 years, if you're not a NFL fan, if you're a college football fan, Malik established himself at worst is a backup quarterback. And backup quarterbacks in the NFL make over $10 million in their career. And he deserves it. He has earned it. And and there's no one better to be a representative of Liberty who's in the pros right now. I love DeMario, and I'm sure if DeMario got microphones in front of his face every Sunday morning, every Sunday afternoon, he would say something similar. But Malik has been just pristine this entire the revenge game, as a Malik truther, and I told all my friends, my brother's a Packers fan. He was like, I will never forgive you if Malik loses 2 games. And every I try to FaceTime him. Malik, the prodigal son has returned. They don't pick up, but they know.
So I just wanted to say we apparently got some spam comments in YouTube. I apologize. Was not trying to click on that one. I was trying to show a different one, but there's several in here. But,
hey, views are views, baby.
Yeah, I guess.
We're trying to get to 100 to get Richie running on the field. So, I mean, we'll take anybody.
That's the rumor.
There you go. But no, super stoked for Malik, and I don't know. Jordan Love is rumored maybe to be back this week, and but regardless, he's got himself a spot in Green Bay for as long as he wants. He'll be able to get a second contract, whether it's there or somewhere else. I wouldn't be shocked if he got another chance at a starting spot somewhere. But super happy for him. Obviously, unfortunate spot for him in Tennessee, but it's worked out in Green Bay. So happy for him. And he really overshadowed DeMario. DeMario had a great game last Thursday night.
Yeah, 84 yards.
Yeah, 6 catches, something like that, 9 targets.
I had him on my bench in fantasy. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I think somebody, was it you, also had Jake was telling us in the group chat, had Malik on his bench, and he outscored his 2 other quarterbacks.
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you too.
Yeah. Richie does too.
Yeah.
Richie has. Let Richie be the ultimate Malik truther, because Richie has Malik on his dynasty team. So even if he didn't start him, like you've rostered him, you're ride or die with Malik.
I took Malik 2 rounds earlier than I probably should have, which in a rookie draft is preposterous, but irrelevant. Because guess what? I'm 3-0. Do I have the least amount of points scored in the league? Irrelevant. No one wants to hear about anyone's fantasy team, but I have a fantasy team. I have Malik and DeMario. I'm undefeated, and I have the least amount of points scored in the week. Sometimes good things happen to good people.
Exactly.
Carry on.
So we've probably got, we're already over an hour, maybe 5 or 10 more minutes here, but a lot of comments before our spam bots got into the YouTube comments, but on conference realignment, we probably should touch on it a little bit.
Are we going to the ACC?
No, I don't think we're going to the ACC. The AAC, maybe. I mean, we'll have to see what's going on there. But it's interesting. There's a lot of, typically the realignment. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on it too. But a lot of the realignment, starts in the SEC or the Big Ten and eventually trickles its way down. Well, right now it's all in the Group of 5 or G6, if you want to include the Pac-12 there. And a lot of it's been between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West here this week, and the AAC as well. And it sounds like the AAC is going to be able to hold their teams in. But it'll be interesting to see if Liberty, how far down the list they would be on some of these teams. There's lots of conversations going on between, like I tweeted this and half joke, but half truth too, is every G6, if we want to call it that now, team is having conversations with G6 conferences across the board. That's just what's happening. So Liberty's certainly in the mix. And we've said this before when we talked about realignment, is all you can do is take care of yourself. Win a lot, and don't have this off the field extracurricular stuff that drags you down, which has been Liberty's, and still is, Liberty's biggest negative, is the extracurricular stuff. Now, some of that is never going to go away just because, it's who Liberty is as a school as far as what the school stands for. But some of the things like, former president being in the news, that's gone away. And, I think, having President Costin as a great, figurehead for the school and a great person in that seat. So, that's good, and keep winning. We've done a lot of winning these last 5 years, these last 2 years. So keep winning. And the prettier we can make ourselves, then the more suitors we're going to have. That's just human nature, right?
Agreed. And we have to remember the fact that we are a private school. We are a school that has a lot of money. It's good to talk about it on the surface, but you talk to a conference that has a majority of public schools that are oftentimes second or third fiddle in their state. We have to remember that. Second or third fiddle in their state. They don't want a school like Liberty coming in and just, I was going to say what I was going to say, but I'll get in trouble, that are just coming in and saying, hey, we're the new big dogs. They don't want to deal with that, especially in the NIL world that we are, because we've had the success of Flames Rising and the buy-in from the fans that, yeah, I can understand why a bottom of the barrel G6 team would go, We don't want them. That's a no vote. But at the end of the day, money talks.
No, it definitely does, and it'll be interesting to watch these next few days, next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the AAC gets aggressive, goes on the offensive. The Mountain or the Pac-12 was going after some of their schools, and their schools turned them down. So I wouldn't be shocked if they went on the offensive and went after a couple of the top Group of 5 programs. And if you're not in the AAC and you're not in this new Pac-12 that's forming, who are the top Group of 5 programs? I don't think you have to go very far before you get to Liberty, because I wonder about some teams in the Sun Belt. What if the AAC got creative and said, hey, let's beef up both sides and let's just go all in on this East Coast division, and let's add the top 3 or 4 schools on the East Coast.
Well,
they could go and grab an App State, a JMU, and a Liberty, and suddenly they kind of put knife in the back to the Sun Belt, and now they've got a great Eastern regional based conference as well too.
Yeah, now you look at the Big Ten and the SEC, it's exactly what they did. They went and said, we're going to take the best of the the ones that are right behind us. So it's odd that the shuffling with the P6 schools, that it's like, to me, why would Memphis leave to go join another P6 school? I don't think we're going to be in a situation where, and sans a school like Liberty, a school that's the top of their lower level P6, you're not going to see a school leave. You're going to see Memphis join the Pac-12. What's in it for them? They're not getting a good TV deal. They're going to travel all sport out there. So
Memphis is holding out for the ACC.
Sure, as they should.
12.
As they should.
No, I agree.
I think, John, you kind of took the words out of my mouth with the AAC getting aggressive. I think that makes very much sense, or a ton of sense for them. Of course, it's going to be biased because I hope Liberty would be part of that. But as you said, they could put a knife in the Sun Belt and really just establish themselves as, we are the #1 conference in all of G5 or G6. I mean, if they brought in the Liberty, the App, the JMU, and one other team, I think without a shadow of a doubt that would be the case. So it's something that they have a new commissioner as well. Their last commissioner retired last year. So you think about all the different dynamics, and maybe something that, if this new commissioner wants to make a mark, it could be a real possibility that is something that they pursue.
Yeah, I guess the question for them becomes, what does that do to their bottom line? If they add those teams, does it see a markable change or increase in their TV revenue when they go back to market for that? And I don't know that. I don't know if that would change it. I think it would. If you basically pulling the rug out from underneath the Sun Belt and even the Conference USA to a degree too, but it'll be interesting next few weeks, next few months. And did anybody see the rumors going around about Hawaii?
I'm in.
I'll sign up for one trip. Maybe only one trip ever to Hawaii to play them, and then let's get on out and move on to another conference. But that'd be fun.
Yeah. So it's all fun and games for us to look 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 4 years ahead about possible conference realignment. But before we close out our podcast, App State, Saturday, 3:30 at Boone. I'm going to give my prediction first before I kick it over to you guys. I think Liberty takes care of business the way that this team responded in the second half. I feel good. John mentioned earlier, players returning from injury. CT mentioned it. Weather. I think if there is rain, it plays into Liberty's abilities. Feel good about Liberty. I haven't picked against Liberty yet. I'm not going to start now. CT.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick against us either. I think there's too many factors looking at it that point towards us. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, when talking about App State, anybody can have a bad game at any point. So there's a world where we struggle to show up for whatever reason, because of the fans, because of who knows, after an emotional comeback win at 2 a.m. against ECU, crazier things have happened. So anything is within the realm of possibility, but I like all the factors sort of pointing in our favor. So I'll be bold and I'll say Flames 38-17.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah. So I'll take a quote out of one of our former head coaches' playbook is, if we played App State 10 times, I think we would win a majority of those games. But there's but I don't think we win 10 out of 10. I mean, App State's a good team, and it's certainly playing in Boone. I don't think we would win 10 out of 10. I mean, they're a good team. They would get our numbers. So you got to be on the right side, and it could certainly go either way Saturday. But having said that, I do think we're the better team. I think we turned a corner. This is what I'm choosing to believe. We'll find out Saturday. But I think we turned a corner in the game against East Carolina. I think we kind of found a little bit of our identity on offense, scoring touchdowns, 5 straight drives to end that game. And, if our offense starts clicking and gelling like they were in 2023 to go along with what our defense has done so far through 4 games, we could be really good. And we haven't been really good. I don't know if we've even been better than good yet. We've kind of struggled a lot and shot ourselves in the foot a lot of the time. But I'm feeling good right now. I think App State is in a interesting predicament. They got their backs up against the wall. How are they going to respond? They could, if we come out and punch them in the mouth and get up by 2 scores, they'll probably wilter. That's my guess. I don't know if we'll do that. I think their fans would turn on them a little bit. You might hear some boo birds from the fans if they go down 14-0 in the first quarter. So we'll see what happens. I'm not predicting that to happen, but I do think Liberty will win. I think we'll cover that, 3.5 point spread, and I'm feeling very good. I feel better, right now going into this game than I did a week ago going into the East Carolina game. I was really nervous about that one. That doesn't mean that, we're going to win. We could lose this game. They're a very talented team. Like I said, they got their back up against the wall. So are they going to come out and fight? I expect them to. I expect it to be a good game, a tight game. But if we can get some early momentum, we could, put a little bit of separation between the two of us. But I feel good. I feel confident about ourselves going into the game.
Yeah, I think John says it best. If we could be up 14-0 in the first quarter, what a turn of events that would be for everything we've gone through. Not everything, but for what we've seen the last few weeks to the start of the college football season. So, as always, we are so thankful that we get this opportunity to talk about our favorite college football team with all of you, for your support on social media. Again, if you are just checking us out later on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And again, so glad that you're part of our Tuesday nights or whenever you are checking us out. But as always, stay hydrated, stay blessed, stay fly. We'll see you next Tuesday. Go Flames.
Thank you.